Hello,
Okay.
Andrea Stolpe. Great to see you. I enjoyed your retreat, and I'm so glad you were able to make some time to meet with me today and talk about songwriting and the many ways you're helping other songwriters in the world, including me. So thank you.
You are so welcome. It's my pleasure to be here. This is fun.
So tell us how you came to this place in your life where you've become a songwriting teacher and guru, and also still a songwriter and living in LA. Give us a little bit of the windy road.
Right, right. And it is a windy road. Absolutely. And no
Mhm.
two roads match, do they? I went to Berklee College of Music, like many, and I graduated there in 98. And in 98, I moved directly to Nashville because I had found songwriting. And through Pat Pattison, who began the songwriting program there at Berklee, and other teachers like Jimmy Kachulis, I really began being enamored by the way songs work, and no place did it seem to be more sort of tools based and this mixture of storytelling and emotion than Nashville. And I think
Sure.
at that time, it's funny. I don't know if this makes me look good or bad, but I didn't really like country music when I moved there.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Nothing drawing me to it except
Right.
for the storytelling, because I was from Minnesota. There's nobody in my remote area who did
Mm.
popular music or contemporary music at all. I mean, I'd grown up playing classical piano, but I wasn't good enough to join the orchestra. So, and I still was drawn to piano, but it took me several years at Berklee to really understand what are some of the careers that people have in music. And songwriting just drew me completely out of the woodwork. So I moved to Nashville thinking, okay, here's a job for a good Midwestern girl who needs to show that college education went for something.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I got a job working, well, first I, worked temp jobs and things, as it
Sure.
seems we all,
Yeah.
for about a year and a half. So I graduated in 1998, and with less than 2 years, I was signed to a publishing deal,
Amazing.
which doesn't happen nearly, not even close to the same way or at
Right.
the same speed these days. So it was a very different time.
Mhm.
And that's, not having had any cuts, no songs recorded by anybody else. And I think a Schedule A, which is, the songs that the publisher inherits from you that they initially start pitching or demo. It was like 5 songs. So not a lot to show for myself. And all the risk was on them. So
I see.
um, yeah,
So
I got
maybe
my
they were 5 really good songs.
I don't think so. I think they really
Oh,
got
okay.
a glimmer of potential
I see.
there.
Okay, okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Right, yeah.
But it's funny. Even there's something beautiful about the inexperience. When you get
Absolutely, yeah.
too much experience, it's almost like you can hear the control that you're exerting over, or the boredom, right? That you're,
Right. Oh, yeah.
whatever,
Yeah, right.
feeling.
Interesting.
So I
Uh-huh.
think there's that young blood kind of sense that's always been present in the industry. When you're young, you also speak directly to and understand and struggle with the same things that
Mhm.
music consumer buying culture is dealing with. So that was a great
It's
time
interesting
for
for you.
to get in.
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, like everybody, music is like feast or famine, and it
Yeah.
just oscillates between those two things. So I had 3 different deals in a span of 8 years and got some nice cuts along the way. Some I should have had, some I never did, and some I shouldn't have had.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Right.
'Cause, you
Yeah,
never
yeah.
know with songs that you don't want to hear that end up getting recorded.
Really? Really? Okay. That's
Often,
yeah.
that little ditty that meant nothing that you're like,
Uh-huh.
"Really? That one? Don't they want this heart-wrenching, just really dripping with sorrow thing that folk 8-minute song that I wrote?
Yeah,
No, they
yeah.
really don't want that." So
Okay. That's interesting. That's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, Nashville was awesome, and I felt like I was getting to a point where I just didn't wanna be branded that country writer,
Mhm.
kinda stay there with that, so I made a record of my own in 2007 with my husband. It was
Oh.
super all these songs that weren't appropriate for pitching in
Mhm.
Nashville. I had one song, the title was Oblivion, and just on the title, that's never gonna go anywhere in Nashville. So I recorded those and started touring a little bit around those just locally and moved to LA, and then really got involved in the LA scene, started doing workshops, wrote a book on songwriting, wrote a second book on songwriting, began teaching at USC, had some kids,
Right.
all that.
Yeah.
all that kind of
Live
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And when did you start teaching at Berklee? What year was that?
Yeah, I roughly in 2000 or 2001, I started
Okay.
teaching online program.
Well,
So
so pretty quickly after you graduated, you were quite a
yeah,
student, I guess. You probably
it's like
impressed
anything else.
everybody.
Well, if you have an in,
Yeah,
that's
right. It helps.
a
Yep.
referral business,
Mhm.
So I was quite with my teachers there, and the online program was just beginning, launching, and they needed people. So I got right in there and learned as I taught.
Yeah. So this call to teaching, it's interesting. I remember when I went to your camp as an attendee, which I loved, and one of the things you said there is you said, I think you were being humble, but you said, I think I'm a better teacher than I am a writer sometimes, or maybe these days you
Yeah.
may feel that way. And it
Yeah.
felt like the call to teach was really strong in you. You actually had a career or have a career as a songwriter, 3 publishing deals. So I mean, you had those. Do you currently have a publishing deal, or
No, not right
do
now. I
you
do
do
have
you
my own
you do
administrating.
you just do your own stuff? Yeah, okay. So you're still active songwriter, but then also this call to teach seems to take a lot of bandwidth, maybe most of your time.
Most
Um,
of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So talk a little bit about that call to teach. How did that find you, or how did you find it, or how did that come to be?
Yeah. I once calculated how many people that I have worked with throughout the years just
Wow.
in the classes.
Uh-huh.
20,000 different songwriters.
Amazing.
Feedback for, that's how the classes work. So there,
Right.
I remember early on teaching, sitting in front of my screen, listening to someone's assignment and moments where I was like, oh my gosh, what do I say? What do I say that could
Mhm.
possibly be helpful? And I'm so grateful for that time where I was just able to practice thinking critically. It's an awareness thing. How am I feeling as a result of this? Oh, shoot, I forgot to listen. Well, maybe I was bored. When did that start happening? Or maybe I was confused, or, trying to be as aware as possible. And
Right.
then going through all these sort of layers of understanding, I was sort of recognizing what my blind spots are. If you're listening to music or songs that are not produced, am I confusing the bones of the song with the recording? If
Mhm.
someone's not a good vocalist, maybe good for the song is different than versatile. But recognizing how it's so interesting to me how we develop without even thinking about it, I think, opinions about music, not really knowing where they come from. And I think it's that curiosity that led me, and just the fact that the doors were open to continue teaching. And it's such a sense of security for all of us musicians to have income streams from a variety of different places.
Right.
So not only did I feel like I was becoming a better writer by thinking critically about other people's songs, I was able to feel more secure and pursue the projects that I wanted to pursue instead of feeling committed to things that kind of made me angry or, a little bitter about having to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that introspection of you're fascinated with how our opinions and tastes are made and shaped in ways that maybe we don't even have any idea about. And you're noticing your own opinion of what's going on and saying, well, how do I become aware of that and dig into what that's about, what that's telling me, and how I can
The
share that with
better
others?
the better the writer, the more critical they are. And that's something that I love speaking to at our retreat and all the
Mhm.
things that I do. We find that writers get dismissed frequently because the listener is not capable of giving feedback for us to understand where are we in terms of our growth from point A to point B. We don't even know where point A is. What are my skills? What are my strengths? Where would the natural skills and strengths that I carry be best applied? And I'm even talking about what genre of music embraces the things that I really value, not in terms of content, but in terms of, if you're a very rhythmic writer and your fingerprint is on folk or Americana with a very rhythmic sense, that's going to create something kind of interesting unless you don't use that skill at all because you associate folk with heavy storytelling and de-emphasize your rhythmic background.
Mm.
So it's really interesting to then, which is what I do in my mentorship program, is one-to-one delve down with songwriters, with creatives, and say, let's reevaluate what are your goals and why are they your goals? because then we can get more clear on how many of the things that you feel really passionate about that you naturally practice are you really using. That I think leads directly to someone really discovering their sound.
Yeah. It's a deep dive. It reminds me of the coaching world where you're helping them see what they can't see themselves, but only they know the answer to.
Yeah.
So they have to find it, but you have to help them dig, you know?
For sure.
So yeah, that's great. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the programs you have. So you mentioned your mentorship program, and I'm a member now of your EMC, and I've been to a retreat. Is that the three primary areas to work with you, or how do you see that?
Yeah, it is. I envisioned for many years. Well, the EMC is an institute. I didn't call it a school
We should say
specifically.
what EMC is too.
Yeah,
So I
well,
didn't. Yeah,
so
yeah.
EMC sounds much better, I'm told, but it's the Emerging Musicians Coalition. And so it's community, it's about music, right? And it's for all of us who are on a growth path. And so
Mhm.
we have classes that begin just about every month of the program. So it was important to me that people feel like they can join at any time. It's important that it is affordable. So for musicians, sometimes a course where you have to pay for the whole thing up front and it's $1,200 for the whole course is not really feasible. And so this is $100 a month or $1,000 for the year. I think that for many of us, there's that little bit of commitment that a financial investment
Mhm.
causes. And that is also something that is important to me. We have free offerings, things
Uh,
that people can do to learn and improve. But this is just a little bit more, I'm gonna say, serious than that without
uh,
becoming something that people have to show up for everything. So you can kind of do it à la carte. Some of the courses and master classes that we have are music theory for songwriters. Sometimes music theory is a beast.
mhm.
And if you don't want to go down into it with your neighbor who's a jazzer or trained in opera and classical for many years, you're going to feel out of place. And so it's just a 5-week session taught by amazing art teachers who've been teaching at other schools and places that I've vetted, personal friends of mine who I just think are great. Chords for Songwriters is another one.
Mhm.
Critical listening is one we have coming up.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then, just everything that's relevant to songwriters, musicians, producers connecting to songwriters.
Right.
So
There
this
was a
community.
singing workshop recently too,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is cool.
Jessica
Yeah.
Allen. So it's an umbrella under which I can create what I think are the essential skill sets that every musician
Mhm.
can pursue to be able to feel more confident speaking the language of music and
Mhm.
connect with other people.
And you branded it as musicians, not just songwriters, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. So,
Yeah.
what's the thinking there?
I think certainly the idea of musicians connecting with other musicians. I think there are many songwriters who don't consider themselves to be musicians. And I think when
Mhm.
we say musicians, we think, well, I'm not really an instrumentalist. It's like, yeah, well, you got to put a lot of thought into how you're presenting your song. And we think about, production is arranging, but it's also the writing.
Mhm.
I'm gonna add an extra half bar here because it creates some spotlight for what I'm saying on top. Well, now it's a production idea, but it's also the writing,
Mhm.
and so I think with some of the events that we have throughout the year too, it's about encouraging people to collaborate with each other. So a mix engineer, you can identify through your profile as a mix engineer or as a producer or as an
Right.
instrument
Mhm.
or as a songwriter primarily, and then search for people through that mechanism.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited, and I've already been enjoying the courses and also the interactions. So
right.
it's great. Yeah. So going back to one of the things you said too, I want to point out that I think it's really a special quality about your teaching that struck me. And I heard it when you were describing your call to teach, but it was that there's like, I want to help people get to the next place they're going, but I don't want to come in with my expertise and tell them all the things that are quote unquote wrong with their song or whatever. And I remember I watched you with myself, but also with others in the retreat. It was really cool how you would sort of say, we'd play something and then you'd say, okay, great. So where are you stuck? Or what are you wanting to do next? Or what, rather than, I think most sort of situations I've experienced in songwriting critiques are you play something and then people tell you what they would have done. And you're like, well, I know you might have done that, but I have reasons why I did this. And I don't have time to explain to you all the, references and things that I'm drawing. We have different influences, different tastes. Can you just speak a little bit about that perspective? Because I think it's unique in terms of my experience of songwriting critique. And I think it's really an amazing quality you have. And you're really able to get people to that, you bridge that next horizon wherever they're going.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think it's born from a desire to find the underlying principle of something, because there's many ways to fix a song. My way of addressing rewriting a song is usually going to come back to lyric, melody, chords, groove. That's the order for me.
Mhm.
Unless I say, hold on, what if I look at this from a harmonic perspective? How can I improve the song harmonically? But if I'm just feeling something is off, I will ultimately blame the lyric first, because that's the screwdriver I grab first.
Yeah. That's your sort of perspective as a writer first. Like you're kind of leaning into lyrics first
Right.
often. Yeah. I've heard you mention that.
If you're working with someone who does not grab that tool first, but it's clear that they have a lot of competence and enjoyment out of a different tool, then why not grab that tool with them rather than making them hold my tool and then it feels
Yeah.
all awkward? And I think that just gets back to trying to recognize what is the tweak that's going to cause the biggest difference in this song. And that's the thing, is when you listen to songs that we know and love and they sound amazing and they're produced beautifully and the
Right.
vocal is
Right.
just right and it's been comped from 26 tracks and hit
Yeah.
like great, it's really difficult to understand what is, you can't see any imperfection anymore, plus the
Right.
history that we have with the artist. So we don't have it when we're just putting a song out there, and we might not even be the right voice for it. So I think that's the thing where a lot of us, I think, experience more harm than good when we, at random, play our songs for a variety of different people. We'll get a lot of different feedback. And the reason is that it comes from their experience of what the song should be for them. So if I'm a publisher and I live in Nashville, I am ultimately going to focus on the lyric. Is it consistent with the pulse of the industry at the moment? Where could I pitch this? What's the word that I can't pitch? But that really also denies any flat 3 major chord that I might have put in there that might be cool and sort of open up doors for some other possibilities, because they probably don't hear that chord at all, for one, and
Yeah.
don't see that as a tool that they could grab and use.
Yeah. So the audience is looking for something else.
So
But
ultimately, I always go back to, it comes back down to the principles, and I talk about this a lot, but and I'm still formulating all of this in my own mind, but every song has 3 principles, and they are prosody, which is the ability for the music and the lyric to mean something more and greater together.
Mhm.
The second is momentum. Every song has a battery, as a great
Mm.
songwriter said it, but like a motor.
Right.
And
Mm.
you can feel it when a song is too long. You can feel it in a room when you're talking and you're talking too long and you feel like you might
Yeah.
be going a little bit over, like I'm
Mm.
doing right now. I'll finish this thought.
No, no, you're not.
You know,
You're not.
but it's got momentum in a new chord.
Mhm.
We call it contrast, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's the reason why songs have different sections, because you can't listen to the same thing over and over again. But that's the motor. And there's
Yeah.
many different
Tension and
ways to
release.
make the motor
Yeah.
go.
Mhm.
And the third thing is restraint. So often we overwrite. You barely ever hear anyone that's like, you know what,
Guilty.
more lyrics,
Yeah.
more
Right.
melody, saying more.
Yeah.
You know, none of us do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you have a few more sections? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Amazing. So want to underscore, you mentioned you have a lot of free material out there. You released this incredible 2 hour plus 2.5 hour, I think, course on
Yeah.
YouTube, which I've sent many people, friends and whatnot. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. It's amazing resource. It's like, I think it's the sort of thing where you can just tap in for 5 minutes, and luckily YouTube saves your progress, and then you can show back up a week later and do some other things. But I was working with a songwriter in town, and I shared it with him, and he was like, couldn't believe in like
Oh,
8 minutes how much he learned. And I think he still hasn't made it all the way through because it's like a savoring. I want to savor it like a dessert or something. You're like, oh, so it's really amazing resource. And I know you have tons of other content, your Instagram channel, your other things. So that's super generous and amazing that you've done all that. So then the outline here. So EMC is the way to get your foot in the door and have a little bit of financial pressure, sign up for some commitment that you're going to continue to make progress and check in and do the lessons and actually meet other people around the world and
right.
grow. And then we haven't talked enough about retreats yet. We talked about mentorship is like, okay, deep dive with Andrea of like really have a custom program to really develop you as an artist. And then in between that is this retreat category, which is how I jumped in the pool because I wanted to have a week away and really focus on songwriting. So you've been doing retreats for a long time, quite a while. And
Well, if we counted the online retreats, it would be around 40. I think it's around 33
33
retreats.
in-person retreats. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're week
Yeah.
long and they're in select cities. And
Right. We do them in upstate New York, in Nashville, just in a couple of weeks. Mid-August, we'll head into Nashville and do 2 retreats back to back. We
awesome.
do in LA. We've
Mhm.
done them in Austin, Texas, but we're in the UK, and I hope
Okay.
to add in Australia or, Greece, more of a destination retreat.
Yeah. Right.
Really selfishly my interest, but
Yeah. Yeah.
hope others find that great as well.
That's amazing. Great. And retreats are typically like 20 something people or so. And I don't know how much you want to give away online, but you have a methodology to it. I found the framework really great. Like you have a plan. It's not random. It's like, but yet it's still a lot of room for improvisational, lessons and also feedback sessions and different things. And also a lot of time to cultivate the group, like I'm still in touch with 5 or 6 of the folks from our camp that we're sometimes writing songs or exchanging emails and helping each other. But you're, anything else you'd say about what to expect out of a camp?
Yeah, all the retreats that I had been at or conferences, a retreat is a little more intimate.
Mhm.
We've had to 33 people at a retreat before. That gets a bit full, and we've had as few as like 16. So
Mhm.
the connection point, the community point is really important because people are focused almost entirely throughout the whole retreat on their art form, on their craft, on getting comfortable playing in front of people, on co-writing, even if you've never co-written before.
Right. Yeah. I had never done that. So that was great.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody has at least one great day of co-writing. It's not uncommon to have one day of co-writing that you're like, huh, did I do that right? How did that
Yeah.
go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that a major highlight that we really pay close attention to is to make sure that everybody feels safe.
Mhm.
Whatever
Mhm.
you come in wanting from it, or for people who are career minded in this industry, to really map out a path forward that may take some time, but requires necessary steps and hard steps. So we get clear on what some of those things will be. One thing that we sometimes get from other retreats is a focus more on industry events. And I work really hard to establish on day one that that's not what this is going to be.
Mhm.
That
Right.
that the resulting industry connection that we get and the opportunities come from the people. So it's always people first. Craft is a natural growth from the people that we're around.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. That's great. Great. Well, I can let you run. I know your time is super precious. You've got a lot going on. So, is there anything you want to share with folks about what you've got going, or maybe a lesson of the day, or something recent that you're sitting on that you feel like would close this out?
Interesting. This is just the first thing that popped up. We run a
Perfect.
chords songwriters class in the EMC right now.
Chords for songwriters.
Chords for songwriters, right?
Okay.
Anybody can have the chords, but these chords are, specifically geared towards song. And it's really interesting. It's going to take some emphasis from the teacher, as well as I think the ethos around the class, just to remind people that this comes back to feeling. And we all have a feeling about how it makes us feel to go from one chord to another. And in the end, you could have all the theory, all the knowledge about music, all of that in the world, and you still would be no further if you didn't listen to an instinct or gravitate towards things that you like, even if you can only sense that you like it a minuscule amount more than something else. It just doesn't matter if
Right.
what we're doing is sophisticated or simple.
Amazing.
It's
Yeah.
just about feeling it. So I know that there's a certain amount of desire to put our best foot forward and really move people with our music that we make. I think it's easy to get up into our head for too long. But I'm feeling invigorated these days, even as I sit down and make music. Everything I play, everything I hear in my head has been done before. And the next thought I have is, well, why do that? Why not? Well, the reason is because now it's my turn to
Mm,
express, to use it as a launch pad. Many times where we end up, I think, is a matter of just trust and faith. And I'm beginning to really recognize that I can't intention that part of the road that's beyond the part I can see. I can
mhm.
only start walking. And that's where it's vulnerable, but it is the path that we all have to walk if we're artists, is
Right.
is you can, and then you just don't stop.
Don't stop. That's right. I love that. Yeah. That's definitely aligned with my thinking. So I love it. Yeah. Great. We have to feel, right? We have to feel first and then keep trusting that feeling, as hard as
Absolutely.
it can be. So yeah, we're often on information overload. And I think that, that's the thing maybe to underscore all this is that you're not just presenting tips and tricks for songwriting. You're presenting a methodology for development as a songwriter, which
Yes.
is
Well
not
said.
not the same. And I think sometimes YouTube culture is like, oh, what's the hack for this? What's and it's like, well, that might have been, I often say, beware of experts, right? They might be telling you their lottery ticket combination, but that's
Yeah.
not yours necessarily. They may have said all these wise things, but how are you finding your own way? And that's where we have to trust, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, I will let you go, Andrea, and thank you so much for sharing your insights and where you're headed with your education. I think it's awesome, and I'll be there along the way.
Thank you so much, Dave.
You bet.
I'll see you around.
Okay.